Welcome back, Source Nation. Now here's your host, Kathy B.
Welcome back, Source Nation. Welcome back. You're listening live right here on the Ladies Lounge. I am your host, Kathy B. We have about an hour before we head into our next show. Of course, I want to take a quick moment and thank Reverend Dr. Renee Mentor for coming in our first hour and giving us some great information. For more information on her, you can go out to Kathy B. Source Radio Network, as well as our main station page, Source Radio Network. Well, we're now into our second hour, and I'm going to be speaking with another beautiful young lady, Miss Denise Gordon. But before I bring her in, and you're coming in on the second half of the show, I want to tell you all a little bit about what we're doing. We are featuring a brand new book series, which is Women Inspiring Nations. Now, this book can be picked up in 2018. But give you just a little bit about the book. This book is designed to feature women who are using their gifts for the greater good, taking their gifts beyond the boundaries of their own zip code and being intentional about inspiring others by sharing their story, their lessons, and their knowledge. Now, each contributing author will share their story about how they discovered their unique gift, calling in spite of life distractions, whatever challenges they may be facing, and walking in their greatness. I love that. Now, how they found the drive and focus to commit to the process, the most pivotal lessons they've learned, what fears they've had to face, and now they're using their gifts to impact and inspire others. I love it. And now I'm going to be speaking with Miss Denise Gordon, and I do believe that she's in the studio with us. Denise, hello, and welcome to the Ladies Lounge. How are you this evening?
I'm wonderful. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I am excited to have you in the studio with us. Thank you so much. Of course, Denise, you know, I did not give your bio justice, and I'll tell you why. We've had the opportunity really to begin to share you with all the ladies here in the lounge and definitely the Source Nation family. So if you will, please, if you could take a moment just to introduce yourself, we'll jump into the conversation from there.
Well, my name is Denise Gordon, and I am a mother, a career professional, an entrepreneur, and a woman who has a drive to help other women to achieve their dreams.
I love that. I love that. Well, Denise, again, thank you so much for being here in the Ladies Lounge and definitely giving us the opportunity to speak with you. Now, of course, I shared with everyone listening and the ladies in the lounge that we are speaking to some amazing women that have co-authored the book, Women Inspiring Nations. And now we are speaking with you. If you will, please, talk to us a little bit about what your contribution was in the book and why you feel your message is necessary to share.
Sure. The chapter in the book that I wrote is entitled, Fear and Failure is Not the Finale. And it is designed, or it talks about things that I've experienced in my life and how I just kept moving forward. And so when I started reflecting back on some of the things that kept my drive going, I realized that even though I had fears and even though I had failures, I still had to live. And so I just kept moving forward. And so, you know, while you're in it, you kind of don't even realize that you're kind of in this fight for your life until after you get through it. And then you look back and be like, well, wow, I was really doing a lot of things. And so that's kind of what I want to inspire women who are afraid to move forward, just to let them know that, listen, fear and failure is going to be there. It's just how you look at it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love your title. And that's one of the things, Denise, that we speak about here on the Ladies Lounge, you know, overcoming a fear, overcoming the fact that sometimes we may fail, but that doesn't really count you out. You know, to me, it's like a blessing. and I
Exactly.
I'll share this with you. You know, when I decided to leave mainstream media, I had been in the business for about 24 years. And about 5 years ago, I said, okay, I'm done. Don't want to do this anymore. What am I going to do? And my passion really is interior design. I love to just go into a craft store or a floral store and just begin to create different things. And that's what I really wanted to do until God spoke to me and said, okay, no, I know you want to do that, but that's not what I have for you. And, of course, I questioned him, and it brought me back to broadcasting, but it gave me the opportunity to now have my own voice and be able to have a platform to where I can have others speak about whatever it is that they want to do or whatever it is they want to say. So naturally I was scared. And I guess it was because I've been in media for so long, but I've been in a position where it was someone else's company.
Right.
And not mine. So
exactly.
walking out on stage and becoming an entrepreneur, I was terrified. But I can tell you within the last 5 years, it's just been nothing but a blessing. So I want to talk about that because what you said, having fear and failing doesn't necessarily count you out, What are your thoughts about that, and why is that so important to share?
Well, I think it's because sometimes when we experience failure, right, the next time we go to do something, we're reminded of that failure. And I think we kind of internalize it as a personal failure. But it's not that you failed. You actually should be celebrated because you had the courage to try something different, right? So I like to kind of change the word from failure to it's a challenge. It's an obstacle. And when you look at it like that, like, well, I just got to change my strategy because I have this obstacle in the way, you kind of you go at it a little differently. And so your determination is a little bit more because when you think about obstacles or challenges, you come in it full speed ahead. Like, this not going to beat me. I'm going to beat it. So that's kind of how I like to look at failure is, okay, I tried something. That strategy that I had, it didn't work. So now I got to just come up with a new strategy and try it again until I can conquer it. And so it's not to say that I don't have fears. I have plenty of fears. I just learned how to operate with those fears so that I can continue to move forward.
Now, I want to focus in, and thank you so much, Denise, for sharing that. I want to focus in on the causes of fear and failure and how you've been able to triumph over it. Now, my natural assumption, when people think of fear and failure, they have this critical sense of people being unsupportive, whether it be their parents or possibly their children or just people in general. They don't want to feel humiliated by whatever it is that they want to do. Have you ever thought about that? And has there ever been the case for you when you said that you wanted to do something and maybe that fear or that failure held you back because of that, not having that support there?
Certainly, it's a lot of times where, fear will enter into my space, and it will slow me down a lot of times, just to be honest. Fear is still a very much part of my life, but even when the slowdowns, I'm just determined to not allow it to completely paralyze me and stop me from moving forward. And so, I started my first business back in 2007, and I was terrified because, again, like you said, when you're stepping out and you don't know, it's a very scary thing because you're putting a lot on the line. You're telling people about it, and the thing about fear or failure, especially failure, is that it's not necessarily because we fail. It's because people know about it, right? And people are going to talk about it. And so that's really kind of what we're fearing is that, somebody else is going to see that I failed at something. And so, you just got to kind of put that to the side and keep moving because you're never going to know what success is like until you try something. So despite the fact that people may see that you failed or may, say whatever, I just kind of, at this point in my life, listen, you can say what you want to say. You can do, a lot of people probably like, oh, this girl is so flighty. She's always doing this and she's always doing that. You're right, because I'm chasing after my dreams. And I don't care what people say. I'm just going to continue to move forward. At my own pace. Sometimes it's slower than some people would like. Sometimes it's faster than other people can keep up with. But for me, it's just like regardless of what happens, regardless of the fear, regardless of how many times I may have failed in the past, I'm going to continue to move forward. Every time I am given a dream or desire to do something, I'm just going to keep moving forward until I can get to that point, or until it says, you know what, I failed at this, I need a new strategy, I need to try something different. It's just that.
I love that. I love that. And so much of what we do now, we place it out on social media. Okay, and once you place something out on social media, everybody has the opportunity to view it as well as make any type of comments that are there. And I can tell you, I had this conversation a few weeks ago where, like I said, I've been in this business for 24 years, and majority of the people that know of me know where I've been and where I've come from, and now to be at this point. And I think I got a little upset, because I'm like, if I was still on the radio station, the local radio station, I would have more people supporting whatever it is I'm doing. And now that I'm doing something on the internet, I don't have that much support from the local people. Now, I have a lot of support and a great appreciation and love from people that I don't even know. But when you're looking at the local people that know of you, that you can physically touch and see in your grocery store, library, or post office, they're not showing that love. So, yes, Kathy V was in that space last week where I'm like, what in the world?
We know it all too often. You are not by yourself. You are not by yourself.
I'm like, well, why is it that you can't get that support? And I did feel like, well, maybe I just let some folks down. Maybe they just don't know. But then I was reminded, Kathy, you got to remember, over the 5 years, you've had those same people that you worked with come inside your inbox and say, how did you get that person? We've been trying to get them for years. And it just made me feel good. I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing something. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that sometimes we question what we're doing, even though we know that this is our dream, we know that this is our passion, but yet we question, are we entitled to do so, Denise? What are your thoughts about that?
So, it's funny that you said that, because I've kind of been in that space too. It's like, I wrote a book outside of this book. I wrote a book a few months ago, and it was really out of a desire to help people, right? Because I have some rental property, and I was getting applicant after applicant who could not qualify because of credit. And so it inspired me to say, listen, I'm going to write a book, because I used to be a loan officer and I used to work in banking. And myself, I've been through some really hard times where, my credit was very low and I had to build it back up. And I just kind of learned as much as I could. And so I wrote this book to help these people. And it's so funny, because the people that I know need it, the people that I know, I've had conversations with them, they refuse to buy the book. And the book is $8.99. It's not even an expensive book, right? But I'm just like, you know what? I know that regardless of what, my gift and what I have to share will get into the right hands and the right people. And I have to stop worrying about who I think needs it or who I feel should have it. And so, sometimes I do stuff and I don't get the support that I think it should get, or I don't get the support that I expect to get. But you know what? It doesn't stop me. I just keep moving on. I say, you know what? Who needs that will get that, and that's on them who don't, choose to get that knowledge. And so I just keep moving on. I don't understand that, but you're right. When you're kind of out there and you're so successful, then everybody want to attach to you, right? But while you're struggling and grinding and trying to get to that, people don't necessarily support you in the same manner. And you know what? I don't know, Kathy, how old you are, but I'm over 40. I'm 45. And for me, at this point in my life, I'm just like, you know what? Who needs it will get it. Who wants it will have it. God will direct me to everybody that I should cross paths with. So I'm just going to continue to move forward.
That's right, and I am 1 year older than you are, so
okay.
I definitely understand that, and that is my perception on that also, is the fact that what is meant for someone to hear, what is meant for someone to see, they will understand it. As long as we are providing the opportunity, because with my story, that's exactly what God placed in my heart, was the fact that opportunity was given to me 24 years ago. So now it's time for you to give back. And that's what I do. I don't look for anything else other than giving back the opportunity, because my blessings are within that. And that's what I like for people to see and understand, you know. And then a lot of people have come to me and have said, you know, well, Kathy B., what makes you successful? What makes your business successful? And I tell them it's all about God. And it's all about what he said I needed to do, what I had to do. And I also believe that I came in at a right time where people wanted to have their own voice, and I believe in that. I believe in the fact that you have to have your own voice and give them a platform to where they can say whatever it is that they need to say, so the message can be heard clearly. So, and that's what we share here in the lounge. So I want to go on, and again, Denise, thank you for sharing that. I want to talk a little bit more about fear and equating that fear to your passion, and how do you ignite your passion? Because to me, I think it fuels. When you're fearful, it should fuel you, or it fuels me, but I think it should fuel you. What are your thoughts about that?
So you must already read the book, because that's exactly what I tell people. When you're fearful, you should be excited, because that means something is about to happen. Something big is on the other side of that fear. And so now when I get afraid, you know, I'm almost excited, because I'm like, okay, God, something's big about to happen. Because and when I look back, you know, so I do a lot of reflecting. So when I look back on everything that I was ever afraid of, you know, and I just kept moving forward, oh, my God, it was such a big blessing on the other side. And had I not moved forward, I would have never been able to receive that blessing. And so, yes, I get excited, and that's exactly what I talk about in that chapter, about when you are fearful, keep moving forward, because something big is about to happen. You know, if it's something small, it don't really scare you, right? If it's something that you're used to or something that you're comfortable with, you don't really get afraid of that. It's that unknown thing that you get afraid of, and generally that unknown thing brings you to such a bigger thing than you could even imagine. So, yes.
I love that. I love that. Just thinking about what you just said, I remember, just like I said, launching my business 5 years ago. That was a fearful moment for me. Then a moment prior to that was actually realizing that I'm now going to be a single mom all over again. Let me explain that. I've been married twice. I was married 23 years ago and had to raise my oldest son alone. And then almost 10 years ago, had to raise my youngest son along with his brother. And I was very fearful. But that fueled me to be a better parent. Not to say I wasn't, but a better parent, and focusing more on family and focusing more on what they need to be the young men that they are now. They're very successful. And the fact that, you know, education was key in the household. I've had one to graduate from college, and my youngest one, he's getting ready to graduate from high school, but he decided to do an early college program. So those are the things that excite me, was the fact that people had said, oh, well, you know what, here she go again. She's divorced again, and, you know, she's raising these boys. A single mom can't do that on her own, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, guess what? I was scared because I was doing it all over again, but this is what the outcome is. They've been very successful. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that when people say she or he is not going to be able to do that because of this and this and that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, like you, or unlike you, I was never married. So I had 2 children that I had to raise, you know, as a single mother. And again, those same fears hit me, but I was like, I refuse to allow my kids to be part of this statistic. The statistics told me that my son would probably not graduate high school, would end up in jail, and I refused to allow that to happen under my watch. So my son did not go to jail. He's never been in jail. He did go to college, although he didn't graduate. He is, living on his own. And to add salt to injury, my son is hearing impaired. He was diagnosed at the age of 19 months of hearing impaired. And so that was a fear for me. I had never experienced, first of all, I was a young mom, okay? I had my son when I was 17, about to turn 18. And just being a young parent, which was so shocking because, I had always desired to go to college. Had been looking and eyeing Howard University for the longest, got to 12th grade, applied, and was accepted. So, I thought my life was sketched out for me. I just knew where I was going, And then to find out that I was pregnant, and I made the decision to continue to have my child, I went to Howard and asked them if they had any programs. They had a program for single mothers, but the child had to be 2. And so that wouldn't work out for me. And so my mom offered to raise my son, and I said, no, this is my responsibility. I'm going to raise him. And found out at the age of 19 he was hearing impaired, and so I was devastated, devastated because I didn't know what life was going to hand to him. So, after I got over my little pity party, I decided I needed to be that advocate for him, and I needed to learn everything I needed to learn because I was afraid. I did not know, how people would treat him, where he would go, and it was an opportunity. And that fear, it was an opportunity for me to learn things that I would have never had learned had I not had that experience. And so that's also in my chapter about how, sometimes when you're afraid of something, it gives you an opportunity to learn something. When you're afraid, just get out there and get some more information. Try to learn as much as you can about what you're fearing. And overall, you'll conquer it because as you're starting to learn more, you'll realize that you know more than you think you might have known, and that you can get through it, more easily than you may have, if you wasn't dealing with the situation. So I just, again, when fear comes, I try to do my research, try to analyze it. I have this thing that I do. It's called my fear factor analysis. I write down exactly everything that I'm afraid of, what would happen if it actually came to light, what I could do to prevent it. So I've managed and have tools to kind of get me through things, but I think you just got to keep moving forward, and I might even be talking off topic because you got me with the single mom thing, but I was the same way, and I just refused to allow, what society said or what statistics would say to dictate what's going to happen in my kid's life. And I'm so proud of my children right now, and I have a 23-year-old daughter who literally went to school, graduated, and she just bought her first house at 23 years old.
Wow. Amazing.
Wow. It's right, and I let them know that, the world is yours. You just got to go out and get it. If you want it, go out for it. It's yours for the taking.
That's so true. That is so true. And that I believe, Denise, that's with anything that you want to do. Let's take it to the next level as far as me. Almost 2 years ago when I decided, okay, my children are getting older. At that point in time, my sons were 15. One was 15, and the other one was 21. And I decided, okay, well, I think I want to go back to school. I'm going to get my master's.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, why am I doing this? I'm too old to be doing this. But no. That's something that I wanted to do. That was a goal of mine, and I've achieved it. Yeah, I was scared. I was scared based on the fact that I felt that I was too old to be going back to school. And, and what are people going to think? What are people going to say? Well, 2 years from that, hey, I'm almost at completion. Been on the dean's list the whole 2 years.
Congratulations.
And thank you, and enjoying it. So that's what I'm saying, is that we should not ever be fearful for the things that we are striving to do or what we want to do. And do you feel like this is what you're sharing with your contribution in the book? Not being fearful, just get out there and do it.
Yes, that's exactly it. But I'll even take it a step further. It's okay to be fearful. Just don't let it stop you. I did the same thing. I had, like I told you, I had a child at a very young age, and by the time I went back to school, it was 12 years. I had graduated out of high school for 12 years, and all of those things got me like, okay, now you were a good student in high school, but you ain't read no textbook or had to do no assignments for 12 years. What are you thinking? This is not going to work out good for you. Same thing. I get to school and I ace it. I walk out, I left as magna cum laude. So, all the things that I was fearing never even came to be my reality. But fear will set you and make you think that, oh, you can't do this, or, oh, this is not going to work out for you. But in fact, if you just keep moving forward, all those things that you were fearing, some may come true, but most of them don't even come true. It's just your mind playing tricks on you, telling you what you can't do. But you can do it. Trust me, you can. Just keep going at it.
You can. Now, I want to share something. As we were speaking, I decided that I wanted to just look up some things about overcoming fear and failure. And then, of course, Source Nation, if I choose to bring in information from other sources, of course, I will share that with you out on social media. So I looked up overcoming fear and failure, and I came across a website called mindtools.com. And they said, how you experience fear and failure. Now, let me get your thoughts on this, Denise. I'm going to read a little bit to you, and let's talk about it. So they stated that you might experience some of the following symptoms when it comes to fear and failure. One, they say you may be reluctant to try new things or get involved in challenging projects. They also stated that self-sabotage can come into play, such as you're procrastinating too much or you have excessive anxiety. These can also follow with failure and following through with the goals you may have for yourself. Then, of course, they mentioned low self-esteem or self-confidence, meaning it could be negative statements that you may be feeding yourself. You may be telling yourself, I'm never good enough, or I'm not good enough for that promotion, or I'm just not smart enough to be a part of the team. And then, of course, trying to be too perfect, meaning a willingness to try only those things that you know you'll be able to finish and perfectly succeed. What are your thoughts about those things that I just stated in reference to how you experience fear of failure?
I think they hit it right on. Those are some of those things that will definitely creep up in your mind. And just imagine, failure for a moment. If you failed at something, it's really hard to say, you know what, I'm going to try this again. But sometimes you got to just put it in your back pocket, and say, okay, I failed at that way because I tried it this way. Like for me, when I started my business back in 2007, I thought I had the plan. You hear me? I thought I had laid it out. I had a great job at the time. My plan was I was going to open this store. I was going to continue to work. I had staff in place that was going to help operate the store until the business picked up, and then I could finally quit my job. 2 months into it, I was laid off. Now, the part of the failure on my part was I had planned for something that I couldn't even guarantee. And so all of the savings that I had put into this store. So now I'm stuck out here with no savings, a store, but no job. All of the things that created my stability was now gone, which was my savings and my job. The only thing I had going for me was a store that was my first attempt at trying to get going. And what I found out very quickly is that I had a seasonal business. I didn't have a year-round business, although I had a year-round lease. And so all of those mistakes, caused me to be like, okay, I see where I failed at this, that, and the other, but it didn't stop me from when I wanted to start my next business. I still remembered everything that I had been through, but I looked at them as learning lessons, So I took back from the things that, okay, this was wrong, this was flawed in my plan, and now I can do things differently because I know better. I have a better strategy this time around. And I'm not saying that this strategy is the best strategy or is going to be the most successful strategy. I just know I know what not to do from what I did previously. And so while it may be a failure to some, for me it was a great learning experience. And it also taught me a lot about myself. So I had a store. It was an ice cream business. And what I realized is that I didn't want to be in the store every weekend. And so I had this store that would be open 11 hours a day. And after I got laid off, of course, now I'm there all the time, every day, all day, and realized I didn't like that. And so when I finally closed it 3 years down the line, a lot of people was like, oh, are you sad? This, that, and other. I was actually happy. I was like, okay, I did that. It took me, I literally came up with the idea, and within 6 months, my store was open. And I had to have the store built out, so it moved rather quickly. And that's how God works. Kind of when you have something, He will put people in your path and in your way to kind of show you, exactly what you need to do. So then some people say, well, but God also, you failed in the store. Well, no, I didn't really fail. What I did was I learned a lot, and I learned that, even though my dream was to have this store, I realized that the store it's not a business that I want to do because it's too much time. It's time-consuming on doing things that I don't necessarily like to do. I don't want to be confined to a building every day of the week for 11 hours. That's just not what I want to do. And so it taught me a lot about myself. It didn't mean that I could never do business again. It just was like I know how to now do business differently.
Yes, I love that. I love the fact that you realized, okay, this was a business that was seasonal. It wasn't all year round. The fact that, it may have seemed that you failed, you realized that there were things that you learned. You learned and said, okay, if I'm going to come back to this, I know not to make those types of mistakes. And I think that that's what we have to do because I am very much of a person that likes to do self-reflection. I like to talk about the things that I have done well. I also like to talk about the things that I have not done well and the areas that I have not succeeded in. How can I make those things better? To me, I think when you do that, that equates to growth. And a lot of people aren't ready for that. So I want to transition our conversation over to that because I think that parallels with failure and fear, being able to grow. What are your thoughts about that?
So I think that, for every lesson for every experience, there's a lesson to be learned. I thank God. I really do. And it's crazy because I was thinking about this on my way to church this morning. I thank God for giving me the ability to be able to learn from lessons that I go through and not to make those same mistakes because you ever meet people and they do the same thing over and over again and you're like, dang, how many times you going to bump your head up against that wall? But I am very much that person that, if I go through something, I really reflect on it, determine what I can learn from it, and I make sure I don't make that mistake twice, and just keep being able to teach and share what I go through with others so they don't have to make mistakes. It's crazy because I was just telling my mom this yesterday about my son. Sometimes we as parents, we want to shield our kids from ever making a mistake, right? But sometimes you got to let them make mistakes because just as in ourselves, we realize that sometimes our biggest mistakes was our biggest lesson. It was our biggest experience to learn something and grow from it. And so I was telling my mom, like, listen, I got to let him fall because if I continue to catch him before he falls, he don't know what it feels like to hit the ground. And I need him to be able to hit the ground, learn from it, so he don't make that mistake again. And so, my thing is, and I said this in the book, sometimes, you had this statement saying you got to learn from other people's mistakes. No, sometimes the biggest learning lesson is in our own mistakes. and then we grow from it, and we can teach others the things that we went through. Not to say that they won't have to go through it themselves. You hope to shield them from it, but sometimes people really got to learn from their own mistake, because they'll realize, wow, I didn't want to. I got to do this differently. And even though moms or friends or family try to shield you from it, sometimes you just don't get it until you actually go through it.
That's right. Wow. Great information that you are sharing there. Of course, Source Nation, we are speaking with Denise. She is one of the contributing authors in Women Inspiring Nations, and she's given us some great information in reference to fear and failure. Again, speaking with Denise Gordon. Now, Denise, I want to talk a little bit more about your contribution in the book, and what more could you share with the ladies here in the lounge about your contributing story?
So, again, my chapter is called Fear and Failure is Not the Finale, and I just set out to help women to understand that we're going to have fears. We are going to have failures. Those things are part of life, unfortunately, but you can't allow it to cripple you from moving forward. Soak in your misery for a short period of time from a failure, and then get up and come out swinging. Life doesn't end just because you had a failure. Life doesn't end because you're afraid of something. You got to keep pushing forward. That's the only way you'll ever get to really achieving your dreams and being satisfied with yourself, as long as you just keep moving forward. Stop all the negative talk to yourself. Speak positive affirmations to yourself. Speak life into your situation. See yourself on the other side and speak as if you're already there. And just keep moving forward. I promise you, life moves on. The situations pass. The things that you fear most likely don't even come into play. It's just your mind playing tricks on you. It's other people injecting their negativity into the thoughts and dreams that you may have. You ever had a dream and then people are like, oh, that'll never happen. Oh, you can't do that, this, that, and other. What I tell you is just to keep moving forward. Say, okay, well, I appreciate your input. And you just keep doing you. Keep going after that dream, regardless of, and it doesn't matter how long it takes you. See, a lot of times people feel like, oh, well, you've been doing that for the last couple of years. I don't care if I'm doing it for the next 10 years. Just keep moving forward. You just keep moving forward, and making sure that, every day you just do something small to move forward to your goals. See, a lot of times we don't achieve our goals because we try to do too much too fast and have these big, goals that, it's impossible to reach. I say chop it up. Do a little bit at a time. Eventually those little bit of things that you did turns into a large thing that you've done, and eventually a few of those larger things turn into you possibly reaching your goal. You just got to keep moving forward.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well, Denise, it has definitely been a pleasure speaking with you tonight on your contribution in Women's Inspiring Nation, Fear and Failure. I love it. If you will, please share with the ladies in the lounge. Of course, we shared a lot in tonight's conversation, but what we like to do is either leave the ladies with some inspirational words or maybe some tips and advice that we may not have shared in tonight's conversation. If you wish to contribute, we love for you to do so at this time.
Sure. Ladies, I guess the first bit of advice I would tell you is that when you are feeling like you are afraid or when you are feeling fearful or you're having anxiety, one is to recognize what you're going through. Don't ignore it. Get some help if you need to. Speak to somebody. Don't internalize it and keep it all to yourself. If you're talking to people that's not encouraging you, you're talking to the wrong people. Get you another group of friends or somebody else that you can share your dreams and aspirations with, who will inspire you, who will keep pushing you, who will help you to move forward. Get you an accountability partner, somebody who can say, okay, now what is it that you want to do and when do you plan to do it? Somebody who will keep reminding you what it is that you desire to do, what your dreams are. And just never give up. It doesn't matter how long something may take you. You just got to say, okay, my journey is different than somebody else. Somebody else may have done something and done it in, like I said, I started my first business and I had it done in 6 months. Well, that was just because God was pushing me towards it and saying, okay, don't stop. And it just happened for me. But just because you may be trying to start a store and it don't happen for you in 6 months doesn't mean that you're a failure because it didn't happen. Your journey is different than everybody else's. Your journey is your journey. God implanted that in you for you, and regardless of how long it may take you, as long as you keep going forward towards it and never give up, you'll succeed. You'll succeed even if, for some it may look like a failure. For you, it's something in that journey. It's something in that dream that will create a huge lesson for you or a success for you. So don't internalize those failures. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means it's something that you did fail. Come up with a different strategy. You'll get to where you're trying to go to.
Wow. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. And then if you will, share with the ladies, how can we get more information about you and continue to support you in your efforts?
Sure. You can find me at IamDeniseGordon.com. That's IamDeniseGordon.com.
Awesome. Well, Denise, again, thank you so much for being here on the Ladies Lounge, giving us an opportunity to speak with you and definitely hear about your amazing journey. We are looking forward to more great things from you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're welcome. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you. Well, Source Nation, you heard it right there. I've had two amazing young ladies here in the studio with me. Up first, we had Reverend Dr. Renee Mentor, and then, of course, in our second hour, Miss Denise Gordon. Our conversation tonight that I had with Denise was all about fear and failure. What I love most about this conversation, and you've heard me say this, ladies, is the fact that the ladies that we're bringing into the studio, especially within this particular book series, all of them have been amazing, and they've been very transparent in reference to their walk in life and the journeys that they've taken and what they've been able to share. But what I love most about this particular conversation, where Denise and I spoke on fear and failure, the fact is that, yeah, we all have fears, but we should not allow our fears get the best of us. The fact that fear should not only be present, but let it fuel you to do the things that you want to do. That's what I was sharing with Felicia, and I had a little chuckle about it because we both believe that that's how we get things done and how we've been very successful. But recognizing the fact that, sometimes you may not get it right, but it does not mean that you're done or you should be done. Know that it has taken place, but move forward. Move forward with the thought of, okay, I'm going to do this, and I can get this done, and I can be successful. We also talked about the support. Support mechanism is so great, but sometimes you're not going to have the people to understand what it is that you're trying to do, and it's okay. It's okay that they don't understand you. I've got to the point now, ladies, where the people that you've had in your corner for many years may not be the people that you need to take to the next level. It may be just you going to the next level. And I have accepted that. I know that going into this new year, there are a lot of great things that I want to do with Source Radio Network. And I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be comfortable for a lot of people, but it's going to be comfortable for me. It will be comfortable for me because I am stepping out on faith and believing that God has something bigger and greater for me, and I'm willing to accept that. And you know what, ladies? If that's where you are in life right now, I commend you to do so. If that's where you're wanting to be, I commend you to do so because you will. I want to thank Denise as well as Dr. Mentor for coming in and giving us that great information. All of that information and more can be found on Kathy B, Source Radio Network, as well as our main station page, Source Radio Network. Ladies, thank you so much for being here tonight, and definitely continue to support us because we're doing some wonderful things right here in the Ladies Lounge and giving you all the opportunity to really begin to have a voice and hear some amazing stories and do some wonderful things in your life. We'll be back here next Friday once again for more great conversations and dynamic guests. You all have a wonderful evening. We'll see you back here again next week.
beats, y'all.